So you're an anime fan, right? You know how anime characters say the name of their attacks as they're doing them? Like whenever Naruto does the Rasengan, or whenever Goku does the Kamehameha. The question I have for y'all today is, should anime characters say the name of their attacks in a live action adaptation? So yeah, let's talk about it. All right, before we get into whether or not they should or shouldn't say their attacks in a live action adaptation, we gotta dive into why exactly anime characters say their attacks in the first place. So I got this article that I found that really gets into the detail of it and pretty much explains everything in the best way that I could if I were to explain things. So let's just get into the article and then I'll talk a little bit more about it and my thoughts and everything afterwards. All right, so the practical reasons behind anime characters announcing their attacks. It may not seem practical for an anime character to announce their attacks before performing them. After all, it's basically like advertising their next move to their opponent. If their foe has previously seen the attack, it's not much of a surprise. Nonetheless, calling out one's attacks is one of the most common tropes in anime, especially battle shonen series like Dragon Ball Z or My Hero Academia. Launching a powerful attack isn't enough in many series, seeing as so many characters also have cool sounding names to yell out as they're lunging into it. It almost seems like announcing the attack names makes the attacks themselves more powerful or effective. However, although it might appear impractical, there are a few sound reasons behind it. There's actually a realistic basis, considering many martial arts practices believe that vocalizing while attacking builds up one's energy levels, making the attack stronger. Moreover, passing down techniques with specific names through generations is commonplace in many traditional schools of martial arts. In anime, this may be the case since many attacks are grounded in a principle of mindfulness about how much energy is being exerted and where it's being directed. It also has a cinematic appeal of exciting both the characters and the audience for what's to come in the battle, as many attacks have memorable names like Deku's Full Cowling or Tanjiro's Hinokami Kagura. Attack announcements are synonymous with battle cries. In a narrative sense, announcing attacks helps strengthen a fight scene and further immerse viewers. During particularly climactic moments, hearing a character announce their next big attack against a villain before performing it helps the audience get excited about what's to come. The announcement is usually accompanied by the series' battle music or character theme, like in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure when Jotaro brings out Star Platinum and announces what it'll do next. His theme song plays in the background amid the barrage of punches that follow. It wouldn't make sense in some series to perform the attack without loudly crying out its name. Most anime attack names are concise and memorable, like Deku and All Might's United States of Smash and everything under its umbrella, or all of the stand names in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. However, some of the more ridiculous and long-winded names include Charlotte's Ultimate Technique, Stunning Charlotte, Chulhorn's Miracle Sweet, Ultra Funky, Fantastic, Dramatic, Romantic, Sadistic, Erotic, Exotic, Athletic, Guillotine Attack in Bleach. God damn. Whew, my voice. Almost lost it there. And Jack's Tyrannic, Blazing, Roaring, Dragon Exploding, Flash, Demon God, Air Cleaving, Rakan Punch, and Nejima. What the heck? Perhaps the most famous example was when Krillin cried out Kamehameha during the 22nd tournament. Interestingly, Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball, admitted that he's not a fan of the trope because it's so impractical that in real life, someone would get killed in the time it takes them to blurt out their attack name. However, there's a practical explanation for why characters do it in anime, given that many of them are based on manga. Attack announcements make sense of crowded battle scenes. Compared to anime adaptations, manga is obviously less colorful. Trying to keep up with all the action on a page rather than an animated visual is a bit harder. So, yelling out attack names helps the reader make sense of who is attacking who and where the fight is happening. This is useful in crowded battle scenes because characters get lost in the mix. Though it may not be necessary for anime adaptations, the battle cries are carried over from the manga to ensure a faithful adaptation of its source material. When done correctly, the anime adaptation usually makes these pivotal climactic moments of any battle that show when a character has been pushed too far and is ready to unleash their most potent attack. However, some fans are understandably annoyed by the trope, it's exciting to hear a character announce their biggest attack for the first time, but rather redundant by the 50th. Still, this trope now has such a stronghold on not only battle shonen series, but also magical girl anime and even certain mecha titles that it seems as though it's become all but mandatory. All right, so even though I think this article does a good job of explaining why characters say their attacks, it still brings up the question of should anime characters say their attacks in live action? The reason I think there's kind of room for debate on this is because film has always been more of a subtle form of art when it comes to the acting side of things, whereas anime, not in all cases, but in a lot of cases, it's a medium that is meant to be more exaggerated. You know, like these characters are in an anime, we want them to be animated, right? And take full advantage of the use of being in animation, right? Like we want to see them be exaggerated as possible almost when it comes to like their emotions and their expressions, you know, because that's one of the things that anime does best to make it feel so magical, is that we get this really overly exaggerated expression and just, you know, crispy looking animation of these characters, all the way from, you know, how they interact to their expressions to their emotions, that just make us feel like we're not in reality anymore. And I think that's one of the aspects of anime that a lot of people really enjoy, and what they search for even whenever they watch an anime, is to not have that same realistic feel. You know, they want something that is like, oh, this feels like another world, you know? They want something to take them away from reality. But when we talk about anime live action, it is the form of anime being put into live action and seeing how it will adapt. Like that is the whole point of translating one form of art into another. In some cases, that means certain things might have to get taken out or changed to fit the medium that it is currently in. That's why I've always kind of found it funny how like whenever you see certain anime live actions that are usually made in Japan, like the Japanese live action adaptations, a lot of times you'll see the characters try to act like their anime counterparts, like 1-to-1 ratio, and it comes off super goofy, especially in live action, because it's like you're supposed to be a real life character, a real life human being, but you're acting like the anime character, and now you just come off as like really goofy and not like realistic, like a real person would act. So it kind of feels weird. But again, I think that's more so a problem with like the Japanese live action adaptation, and like just how a lot of times they try to make it to 1-to-1 ratio and not really make use of the fact that it is in live action and it is supposed to feel a little more realistic. So when it comes to like the film and like cinema side of things, they kind of just skip that, or I would say don't take that into account as much as they should when adapting certain anime into live action. But yeah, going back to characters saying their attacks in live action, I don't think people that grew up on movies and films and have never seen an anime before will think that the idea of a character saying their attacks will feel natural. They'll probably just be like, oh, that's weird, or that's corny, or even more importantly, why? Why did they say their attack as they did it? Is what someone that hasn't seen an anime would probably think, or hasn't seen a lot of anime would think, which is a fair question to ask. And which is what I also believe is the main answer to whether or not if characters should say their attacks in anime live action. A lot of you guys probably didn't even know why anime characters say their attacks before I read the article just now, and there's nothing wrong with that. See, when I first started getting into anime, more specifically shonen anime, one thing that always stood out to me and kind of separated it from the pack was how Bleach explained in its storytelling why the characters call out the names of their attacks whenever they use them. I think for Bleach, it honestly makes sense for them to call out their attacks like regardless, because of the whole concept of, you know, the Zanpakuto and like their weapons being an extension of them and having personality and dealing with the soul within. Like, it kind of just makes sense even if Bleach didn't explain why they call out their attacks. Like, I wouldn't have questioned it that much regardless, because it already kind of makes sense within this world of Bleach of like having weapons that's like an extension of you, and like, you know, it just kind of makes sense. Like the whole battle cry thing would make sense in the world of Bleach as opposed to other anime worlds, just off of that concept alone. However, Bleach goes a step further, and they actually do explain, you know, calling out the attack does make it stronger, and, you know, all the intricacies of that within the Bleach universe. I thought that was so awesome at the time of like getting into anime and watching Bleach, because like, you know, I'm here like getting into all these different anime, but then I'm thinking like, well, I mean, yeah, that's the name of the attack, but like when you really think about it, it's like, where in the rule book does it say that they have to yell out the name of the attack? You know what I mean? Like there's no rule book where it says that across all anime, every character's got to yell out the name of the attack when they do it. Like, so I thought it was really cool that Bleach actually did say like, hey, well, here's why they say their attacks, you know, and whether or not you are someone that watches a lot of anime and you're kind of used to that happening, I do feel like, you know, we can't just assume every anime works the same way, or every shonen world works the same way that Bleach does. And because one anime said why it works or why they do it, that every anime should just, you know, like we're not supposed to assume that knowledge. That should be part of the world building. So I always, you know, really do admire Bleach for actually doing that, even though it didn't have to. I think that that's really cool, and, you know, shout out to Bleach, the GOAT. Like, as someone who was still getting into anime and not sure about all the things that happen in anime, it was just nice to get an explanation, you know? And honestly, even though it's a trope that most shonen anime have, I still think it's up to every story to explain the way their world works. And even if something is there for solely just the cool factor, giving a reason behind it does so much. It does so much. It really, really, really does. So for all the One Piece live action fans that are out there watching this video, there is something we need to talk about. But before we do, you might as well leave a like on the video and subscribe, because I mean, if you've made it this far in the video, I know you're enjoying yourself, bro. So go ahead, feel free to show some love to your boy for putting in the work for these kind of videos. It don't cost you nothing, but it goes a long way for me. I mean, yeah, if you guys are liking this style of video, let me know. I am kind of trying something new with, you know, showing my pretty face and yeah, just talking about topics that I've always kind of wanted to talk about. But yeah, if you couldn't guess already, this channel really is dedicated to talking about the progression of anime and live action and bettering, you know, the adaptation aspect of how we can make anime in live action. Because, you know, I basically just got tired of people saying anime and live action can never be done. It's always gonna be garbage, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, I'm a filmmaker. Like, I know a lot of the stuff behind the scenes that's happening with these adaptations. And I'm also huge, passionate lover of anime, as you can see from behind me. So yeah, I just wanted to make a channel talking about it. So here we are. But yeah, if you guys, you know, like this video and like the conversation or ideas like this, subscribe. We got a lot more coming up. But all right, so getting back into the One Piece live action, right? Yeah, we all know it was really successful. A lot of us loved it. I enjoyed it. I'm not trying to hate on it. But one thing I mentioned in my review for the One Piece live action was that I thought it was kind of weird how Luffy just says his attacks like out of nowhere. Because for me, it felt like we were getting One Piece, but in a reinvented way, which I thought was cool. I enjoyed the live action show, but then they started saying their attacks and I just thought it was a little weird. We never saw Luffy being taught to say his attacks or where that originated from. So now that I'm being introduced to One Piece in a new way, I feel like for things like that, they should have a little more reason to them, especially since it's no longer anime or manga, it's live action. It being a manga thing to clarify, you know, the battle and who's doing what, to then carrying over into anime. And yes, that has become a staple of anime, but there was a reason for it. There was a reason that it started in the first place. Now we don't have this issue of pages being cluttered and we don't know who's doing what attack. We're being introduced to the same material in a completely new medium, in a completely new way to experience our favorite anime. So why are they saying their attacks? I think, like with Bleach, having a reason would definitely make it easier for viewers to go along with. As for whether or not they should do it, I think they should, at least for the first time. but not for every time. Now, there are different ways they could do this. Like, they could have an inner voice saying the attack in their head to make it seem like they're thinking it, so that they're not actually saying it every time. Because I think if we're gonna be watching these fights happen in live action, the best way it could go is if it was smooth and fluid, like in the Yu Yu Hakusho live action, which was, the action sequences, those fight scenes in that live action was, when Yusuke was fighting that one guy, oh bro, there were so many fire fights in that live action. I gotta say, they were all smooth, fast-paced, fluid. Like, yo, the action was crazy. Action was actually really, really, really good. But yeah, like, I feel like the action was so good from that live action, you know, in Yu Yu Hakusho. And because it was so fast-paced, it was so fluid, and I was just like, yo, like, this is what I want to see when we talk about an anime in live action. Like, this is exactly the type of action and choreography I want to see. But if they're gonna have to stop and say their attacks every single time they do the attack or the technique, it's gonna be cringe and it's not gonna flow well. However, I do think calling out the attack has become too iconic to not have it in. Like, it has become way too iconic in the world of anime to where if we got, for example, another live action movie of Dragon Ball and Goku didn't say Kamehameha, like, it would almost be a crime. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts. I do think they should say their attacks, but not too much. I think finding a way to make it feel earned, as in like, hey, I mastered this attack, now I have the right to say it. Creating that type of feel would be a good way to mediate it while also giving the fans something to be hype about. It's like the, oh my God, he's gonna do it, he's gonna say the thing type of moment, you know what I mean? Or for superhero fans, it's like the, oh my God, he's gonna put on the suit, you know, that type of moment. But we gotta get there first. I think that could be a good way to still have it, but not as frequently to where it sounds or gets annoying, you know? Because imagine if we actually got a fight where the whole time they were yelling their moves, but like super fast. So it's like, you know, Goku and Vegeta are fighting and it's just like, you just hear Kamehameha, Galagon, Kamehameha, Galagon, Spirit Bomb, like, it's just like the whole time you're just hearing that, like, throughout the whole fight, like, cause that's how it would be if we were to actually get a DBZ fight in live action and they were moving at that speed. That's how often we would hear it if they had to say it every time. So it's like, yeah, I don't think anyone wants to hear that all the time. At the same time, if they're doing the moves like throughout the whole movie and they don't say Kamehameha, or they don't say Rasengan, they don't say, you know, the move at least once, definitely gonna be kind of criminal. So, but yeah, that's all I have to say for this one, guys. If you enjoyed this discussion or this video, please leave a like. And also let me know your guys' thoughts on anything I had to say in the comments below. You know, that's just kind of how I was thinking about doing things, or how, you know, I envision it. But I really am curious to know like how you guys feel about this as well. So definitely let me know in the comments below. Like I said, please leave a like on the video as well, and subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe. It helps out your boys so much. But yeah, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll see y'all in the next video.